What's up guys, my name is Ace, and we just got some of the biggest news we've ever had in the Call of Duty community. Something huge happened for next year's Call of Duty. Keep in mind, this isn't this year's CoD 2019 or Modern Warfare 4, as it's most likely going to be called. This is next year's Call of Duty. It seems like everything kind of fell apart, and they're doing a massive restructuring of how they're going to handle that game. So today we're going to be covering all the details on that, and I'm going to be sharing what I think about this. I've had a ton of people asking me what my thoughts are. I realize this is coming like one day late for a lot of people, but I am in Norway, and with time zones and stuff, my video for yesterday was already uploaded, and I wasn't prepared to make a video in the evening to cover this. So hopefully you guys can understand that, but let's hop into the topic here. So first off, this news comes from a very reliable source in the industry, and this is Kotaku. So it is most likely correct, but I will say Activision has not officially commented on this at all, and they likely won't publicly comment on that, at least not for a very long time. So just keep that in mind as we go through this information. I am going to be speaking about it as if it is true, because it most likely is, but it has not been officially confirmed. So essentially, with next year's Call of Duty, CoD 2020, this was initially assigned to Raven as the lead developer, which was going to be their very first Call of Duty launch, and they were going to have Sledgehammer as their support developer. So they were essentially working side by side to create this, but it was Raven that was in charge of this. Apparently, they weren't really working too well together, and the game was a mess, or is currently a mess. So much so that Activision actually had to step in, and now they've assigned Treyarch to take charge of this Call of Duty game, which is a really big deal that can have a big impact on the entire Call of Duty franchise from here on out. So this game was apparently a Cold War era Call of Duty, which a lot of people have been looking forward to. It was like Cold War / Vietnam War. And apparently they're still going to be going with that direction with Treyarch in charge, but rumors are it's going to be actually called Black Ops 5, which would be kind of interesting. I'm just trying to picture what the logo for that one would look like. But apparently they're going to take what they already had developed and just kind of adapt that into a Black Ops storyline. So there's probably a lot of assets and stuff that are already in place that will be used for this. So that's what it looks like we're going to be seeing for CoD 2020, a Black Ops 5 Vietnam Cold War sort of era Call of Duty, which I know a lot of people will be very excited to hear that part of it at least. And it is going to be led by Treyarch, but they are going to have both Raven as well as Sledgehammer as their support developers. Now, this raises a ton of questions, and I just wanted to go through and share my thoughts on these questions that arise from this. The first one is, can it be done well? Can this CoD 2020 actually end up being a good game? And I think yes. I think that's actually one of my lesser concerns with this entire issue. I think they can handle it. I'm sure there's already a ton of assets in place that they'll be able to reuse. Treyarch will have a ton of support from Raven as well as Sledgehammer going forward with this. When it comes to the multiplayer side of things, to my knowledge, multiplayer isn't actually developed super early on in the development stages anyways, and therefore I'm sure they do have the potential to put together a very solid multiplayer for next year's Call of Duty anyways. It's mainly the campaign that I'm a little bit concerned about, because maybe they'll have to try and like twist things to fit in with whatever storyline they're now going to be making. But then again, I've never really been that much into campaign. I'm mostly concerned for multiplayer, and honestly, I think they can pull off a solid multiplayer experience with this much time left before launch. That's not to say that I don't think Treyarch is going to be heavily overworked. I think the developers there are definitely going to be seeing a ridiculous amount of overtime, but I am confident they can pull this off. My bigger concern is how this is going to affect Black Ops 4 from this point on, because this apparently just happened this week, so it's not something that's been happening behind the scenes for a long period of time. This just hit now, and we've already had a really lackluster content release schedule with Black Ops 4 since launch. Now a bunch of Treyarch's resources are going to be diverted to next year's Call of Duty game, and this means I have no expectations whatsoever for the future of Black Ops 4. I think at this point we can basically write this game off. I mean, I'm still going to play it, still going to enjoy it, I'm sure, but my already low expectations are now completely out the window for the future of this game. I'm quite worried about what is going to end up happening, and this could basically mark the end for any sort of excitement or hype for Black Ops 4. Yes, they will give us the required maps that they said they would give us with the Black Ops Pass, because they are legally obligated to do that. But now I'm just picturing more map remakes as part of our Black Ops Pass rather than new, original content. And I don't see them ramping up the content release when it comes to weapons and everything. I'm sure they've already got a few in the pipeline, which we already know about. But beyond that, I think it's going to be pretty bad in the Black Ops 4 department. I'm also interested to see how this ends up impacting Modern Warfare 4 or CoD 2019, still hasn't been officially confirmed yet. And the reason behind this isn't necessarily for launch. I don't think this will have any serious impact on the launch of Modern Warfare 4. I'm thinking more so post-launch support for Modern Warfare 4 because what's going to happen the year after in 2021? Are they going back to a 2-year cycle? So is Infinity Ward going to have to get a game out for 2021 now? And if so, does that mean they're going to have to divert resources away from supporting Modern Warfare 4 after launch? That's definitely another concern that I have for this. That's more so a down the road concern though. I don't think that's an immediate concern. I don't think that's going to affect the launch of this year's Call of Duty by any means. But this big shakeup is definitely going to have lasting effects on the Call of Duty franchise. And it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing beyond CoD 2020. Also, even though I do think that the 3 studios working together can definitely pull off a decent Call of Duty game next year, I'm a little bit disappointed because I thought it would be Sledgehammer taking the lead on this, and I was really excited to see what Sledgehammer could bring with the new leadership there. Without Condrey in charge, I was interested to see what they could bring for us because I feel like with CoD World War II, that leadership really turned things around and that game became much, much better after that patch. So I was just imagining what they could do starting from scratch with that kind of leadership, and I was looking forward to that. But it turns out that wasn't going to be the case anyways. Raven was going to take charge of that, which Raven has also done great work with Call of Duty. Even though they have just been a support studio, they've been doing excellent work with Call of Duty. So it's a little unfortunate to see that they didn't get their shot either, and they're still going to be a support studio for this. But this does raise another question. Which branch of the Call of Duty engine is this game going to end up running on? If they've already got a bunch of assets in place, they've already been working on this game, I kind of feel they're probably going to be locked into the Sledgehammer branch of that engine rather than the Treyarch branch of the engine. And this could be good or bad because the Treyarch devs may not be as familiar with the other branch of the engine. I'm not too sure on that one. But this will definitely have an impact on how the game ends up feeling and playing. Will it feel more like a Sledgehammer Call of Duty, or will it feel more like a Treyarch Call of Duty once it eventually launches? So definitely a ton of questions brought up by this, and it is a little bit concerning for the future of Call of Duty, but at the same time, I am optimistic. I think there's going to be a ton of overtime and some really overworked developers, but with the resources they have available to them, I don't think this is going to be a catastrophic thing that they can't recover from. I've seen a lot of people, I feel, overreacting a little bit in the community. I'm optimistic. I think everything's going to be okay. But at the same time, I'm a little bit nervous to see what's coming in CoD 2020, and also I'm nervous to see how this will impact the future beyond CoD 2020 with the Call of Duty franchise. Now, another thing that came out of this, and this was a more like minor point that doesn't really have anything to do with this, and this news has to do with this year's Call of Duty, CoD 2019, or probably Modern Warfare 4, apparently the inside sources also mentioned that they were toying with the idea of free-to-play components for this year's Call of Duty. And that's quite interesting to hear. I'm not too sure what they mean by free-to-play components. That doesn't sound like they were planning on making this year's Call of Duty completely free-to-play. But maybe certain elements of the game would be free to play. I'm thinking maybe like if they brought Spec Ops back, maybe they could do Spec Ops as a free to play sort of thing that's designed to bring people into the game and get them excited and potentially purchase the whole game. Or maybe even like the campaign could be free and they're trying to draw people into multiplayer. I don't see them going full on free to play with the multiplayer, but maybe they could even do that and then they would have like events and they would charge for access to those events. I'm not really sure what the plan is here, but they did also state in the article that there was a lot of resistance to this, so it's not necessarily definitely going to be happening this year, but it does appear that they're at least considering it and talking about free-to-play within Call of Duty. But in either case, that's all the information we've got here, as well as my thoughts on that. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what's your guys' take on this entire situation? Do you think they can pull off a good Call of Duty game next year with the massive restructure in the game at this point? And what do you think is going to happen to the future of the Call of Duty franchise based on what happened here? Do you think it is going to be a catastrophic failure that is going to lead to the demise of the Call of Duty franchise? Or do you think they will end up doing just fine and pulling themselves through this? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.